Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be learning how to use column sums for addition. These are also often referred to as chimney sums. Now, the most important thing about column sums or chimney sums is that we really take the time to line up our columns well. And so because of that, it's important that we have a good understanding of place value. So place value is things like our hundreds, our tens, and our units. So I can see here we've got sum, 43 and 52. Well, I know that 43 is made up of 4 tens and 3 units, whereas 52 is made up of 5 tens and 2 units. The units are sometimes also referred to as ones. So layout is really important. It is essential when we do column sums that we line up our units on top of each other and that we line up our tens on top of each other. They should never be offset, they should always be perfectly one on top of the other. Now that we've lined up our numbers, units on top of units, tens on top of tens, we're ready to begin. Now, when it comes to addition, we always start with the units first. So we're going to begin by adding up all the units. So what I can see here is 3 plus 2. Well, that's nice and simple. That's 5. Next, I move on to the tens column. I'm going to add up everything that's in the tens column. Again, nice and simple in this case. 4 plus 5, well, that's 9. And so I get my answer, 95. Let's look at another example. So in this example, I can see we've got 49 plus 28. Same process. I'm going to take care to really line up my tens and my units. Layout is one of the most important things when it comes to column sums. I'm going to put my equal sign there. Now in this case, we come across a little bit of a problem, and so we're going to have to look at the next part of our learning intention, which is to exchange. Let's find out what that means. So we're learning to use column sums for addition, but we also need to be able to exchange when we need to. Now, the biggest number that we're normally allowed to fit in any column is a 9. We're not allowed numbers bigger than a 9 inside a column. However, that presents a bit of a problem in this case, because if I add 9 and 8, obviously I'm going to get a number that is bigger than 9. So how do we do that? Well, what we need to do in this case, when I do 9 plus 8, I get the answer 17, which I'll write off to the side here. Now, when we think about 17, we could split it up into its 10 and its unit, couldn't we? We could say that it's 1 10 and a 7. Now, this is not actually part of the working, this is just for reference at the moment. So we can split 17 up into a 10 and a 7. For the purposes of our column sum then, the unit, the 7, can stay in the units column. The 10, however, is going to go in the shelf, or on the shelf, of the next column. By shelf, this is just a term that some people use, we mean the top of the equals sign here. That's often referred to as the shelf. It's not an official term. So you can see that we've got the number 17 there, but it's written a bit different. It is 1 7, a 10 in the tens column, and a 7 in the units column. Still 17, just split up differently. So this process of putting the 10 on the shelf there, that's what we call exchanging. We have exchanged 10 units for 1 10. More commonly, this is often referred to as carrying as well. So if you hear about carrying, that's what this is. If we put a 10 on the shelf or 100 on the shelf, we have carried a number there. Next then, what we need to do is we need to work with these tens. But I can see here there's not just two numbers there, it's not just 4 plus 2, it's 4 plus 2 plus that 1 there. I need to add everything that's in that column. So 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And so we get our answer. In this case, 77. But to do that, we had to carry or exchange here. Another example then, just to prove that we can do it with slightly bigger numbers. In this case, we can see that we've got hundreds, tens, and units. So we've got 678, and we're adding that to 268. Again, absolutely essential that we line up units on top of units, tens on top of tens, and hundreds on top of hundreds. They should always line up perfectly. Okay, like before, I'm going to start with the units column here. We have 8 plus 8. Well, 8 plus 8 is 16. That's too big to fit in the column. I can't write 16 in there. That would be incorrect. So what I have to do is I have to split it up. The 6 can stay because that's a unit. But the 1 here, it's not actually a 1, it's a 10. So we're going to change it for 110, and it goes on the shelf of the next column. Next, we're going to add up everything in the tens column. So we've got a 7, a 6, and a 1 here. So 7 plus 6 is 13, plus the 1 is 14. Same problem, I cannot just write down 14. That would be incorrect. So instead, what I have to do is I exchange or carry. I put the 4 down, the 4 can stay, but the 10 goes on the shelf of the next column. So we're changing 10 tens for 100. Last up, we add everything in the hundreds column. So we have 6 plus 2, which is 8, plus 1, which is 9. Now, an important habit to get into is to just have a rough check to see if your answer makes rough sense. If you find that you haven't carried something, what we would have got in this sum is we would have got 16 in this column, 14 in this column, and then 9 in this column, or something similar to that, maybe 16, 13, and 8. Either way, what I can see here is a ridiculously huge number that I absolutely wouldn't get from adding two numbers that are in the hundreds together. So I would know that straight away that has to be wrong. All right? Always check your answer just to see if it makes rough sense or not. If you find that it doesn't, I would start over again and go through the process once more just to make sure. Final example then. We can see here that we've got 865 and 87. Now, this is a little bit trickier because we've got one number that's 3 digits long, another that's only 2 digits long. But let's just stick to the process. As long as we know to line up like with like, we should be fine. So here's our hundreds, tens, and units. And we've got 800, 6 tens, and 5 units there. Now, this 87, it would be incorrect if we just wrote it like so. Because this here is the hundreds column. And I'm not saying it's 800, no, it's just 80, 8 tens. So it's really important that you line up like with like. 87, well that is 8 tens and 7 units. Now, if you find that a little bit confusing, or if you don't like the fact that there's a gap here, you can fill the gap with a 0 if you want. That's optional, but some people like to do that. So now, it's just a matter of going through the process. 5 plus 7. Well, 5 plus 7 is 12. Too big to fit in the column. So the 2 can stay, and we're going to exchange or carry the extra 1 there into the next column. So it goes in the shelf of the next column over. Next we have 6 plus 8 plus 1. Well, 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Again, too big to fit, so the 5 can stay, and the 1 goes on the shelf. You can still see I'm effectively writing 15, but it's just split up. It's still 15 there. And the one before it was still 12 there. You can see it's just written in a bit of a split up, wonky way because we're putting the 10 into the next column over. We've exchanged. Last up then, we can see here, adding the hundreds, we have 8 plus 0 plus 1. So 8 plus 0, 8 plus 1, 9. And there you have it. So that's it, guys. What we've learned to do is we've learned to use column sums for addition, and we've learned about exchanging whenever we need to. Now, to finish off with, I have some examples for you to work through at home. So if you wish, what you can do is you can pause the video just now and work through these examples. When you're ready, you can unpause the video and I'm going to reveal the answers to these in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And those are the answers there. Hopefully you got them right. If not, take the time to try to figure out where you went wrong and attempt the sum over again. Cheers, guys!